Fish in batter or breadcrumbs is lovely, but it can be a bit of a faff to prepare and to make. So I'm going to do something a bit different today, which is just baked fish with a crust on top of it. So I've got these whitefish fillets. These are pollock. Pretty much any fish could do. You could do this on top of salmon or hake or cod or haddock. I've got 75 grams of crackers. These are just crackers that actually, I think might be a trifle stale. I've got 100 grams of walnuts. These are just raw walnut halves. I've picked walnuts for two reasons. One, that they are quite a soft textured nut, but also because they cook quickly. So these will toast in the same time as it takes the fish to cook. First, I just need to make the crumb to go on top of here then. And we're going to do that by starting with the crackers. I'm just going to bash them up in this container. You could do this in a food processor. Or you could do it by putting them in a plastic bag and bashing them with something. I don't know, maybe the bottom of a wine bottle if you're careful. Anyway, that's the first lot of crumbs. I find it easiest to do this when I'm doing it by hand like this. I find it easiest to do it in batches. Alright, that's all of the cracker crumbs. Now the nuts. And again, you could do this in a food processor. It'd probably be a lot quicker than what I'm about to do here. But you'll just chop those up. Just repeatedly, gently running a knife through them. Walnuts are not too difficult to chop like this because, as I say, they are quite a soft textured nut. I'm just going to chop those into chunks. One reason for not using the food processor here is that can sometimes just run away with you a little bit, and you end up with, well, you might end up with walnut butter, which is not what I want. I want to have some texture here. So I think that's about right. That's going to go into my bowl, and then I'll do my second batch. I might just leave that bit out. A couple of bits there didn't look quite so nice as the others, so I think I'll just leave them out. And you can buy nuts already chopped, of course. I tend not to do that because you get a better idea of the quality of them if you buy them in larger pieces. There we go, I think that's about right. So that again is going to go into the bowl there. And we'll just toss those together to get an idea of what the mixture looks like. It looks pretty good. In here we're also going to have about a teaspoonful of turmeric, which I'll have to do with the wrong end of the teaspoon because the right end doesn't go in. But about a teaspoonful, maybe a level teaspoonful of turmeric. I'm not going to add any salt to this mixture. I'm just going to move that around so that the turmeric gets a chance to coat some of the other things. Turmeric obviously is a spice in its own right, but also this will give a lovely golden colour to the crust. Now that crust on its own won't bind together. So I've got some Grana Padano cheese, some Italian hard cheese. I'm not exactly sure how much of this I'm going to use. That is about 100 grams there. I'm going to grate that fine, like that. And I'll add it in. I'm going to do this by eye. It might be that I use all of this. Okay, let's see what that looks like. I think that's enough, actually. That's probably just enough to melt and stick it all together. Probably about 80 grams of Grana Padano. Other hard, well-flavoured cheeses would work. And that's the reason I didn't add salt to this crumb, is because this cheese is actually quite salty. This cheese is bringing the seasoning to the crumb. So to prepare the fish, I'm just going to have a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of this tray. This is really just to stop it sticking. And so I'm just going to lay my pieces of fish on there, and I'm going to season it with this stuff, vegetable stock powder, which obviously does contain a fair bit of salt, but also other flavours. So we'll just give it a sprinkling of this stuff on there. Something like that. Now, some fresh parsley, well, actually frozen parsley. back in the summer when my parsley plant was going crazy, I chopped up a whole load of parsley and just froze it like this. So we'll have some of that on there. And I'm putting this on, this is going to go underneath the crumb, so this won't burn in the oven. So I'll just have a good bit of parsley on there like that. I've put all 4 pieces of fish next to each other like this because this is just to serve 2 people. We'll just cut it and serve portions. You could lay them out individually and carefully arrange the crumb on top, but I'm not going to bother. And then the crumb, I'm going to pile it in the middle like this, and then using my hand to stop it, I'll push it towards the edges. Just because there's not very much point putting a crust on the tray. Okay, so that's what it looks like, and that's all ready and prepared, but we won't put that in the oven just yet because this is only going to take about 20 minutes to cook. So let's get started on some things to go with this. Got these gorgeous little potatoes. It would be a sin to peel these, so just give them a little wash, and we'll cut these into slices about, well, it's a little bit more than a centimetre. It's probably about 1.5 centimetres, maybe 1/2 inch in old money. And we'll just cut those, but even thickness is what we're going for here. Over here at the cooker, we'll get this pan on full heat, and I'm going to fry these potatoes initially in a bit of lard. Really any kind of oil or fat that doesn't burn too much and you're happy to fry things in would probably work here. And I'm not going to wait for that to start sizzling and smoking before the potatoes go in, because this pan, as I've mentioned before in recent videos, once you start to hear a sizzling noise, it's already time to turn this pan down, just because of the way it retains heat. So yeah, that's already time now for that to go down to halfway, or else it will just start burning. And we're going to fry these potatoes and try and get a little bit crispy on both sides. We're doing something a little bit like fondant potatoes here, but nowhere near as formal or exact. Okay, I've got a leek which I've opened and washed. I'm not probably going to use all of this leek. I think we'll use about half of it, but we'll use the greenish top bits. And I've just cut that into little pieces. Over there you may still be able to hear the potatoes sizzling away. The oven is now preheating, and all I'm doing with these potatoes is just inspecting them. Anything that looks toasty is getting moved to the edge of the pan or turned over so the cut side can crisp up, but we're nearly there now. So what I'm going to do now is we'll just take some of that fat out of there, because that's quite a lot of lard still in there. So we'll just, using a basting pipette, just going to extract most of the fat. Probably about 3/4 of the lard is coming out of there. Now those leeks are going to go in. Together with some leaves of rosemary. I'm just going to give that a little stir around. And I think I might turn it down. The leeks have turned this vibrant green colour, which indicates that they are starting to cook. And in fact, I can see some of them are starting to just caramelise a little bit there, which I probably don't want. I've got about 350 ml of chicken stock here. This is homemade chicken stock. Just about enough stock to properly cover everything. And then we're going to get this back up to a simmer and then turn it down until it reduces away to almost nothing. But before we do that, a little bit of tarragon, just a few leaves, tiny little pinch of salt. I don't salt my stock So when I make stock, I don't salt it. So I like to leave my options open. So I make unsalted stock, and then I can adjust the seasoning and stuff when I'm cooking like this. That just needs to come back up to a simmer. It won't take long. You can see it's moving around already. And I'm not going to cover that. That's going to be simmered open so that it can reduce. So beautiful purple sprouting broccoli here. I'm just going to separate off all these little florets. So all of those bits can go in the steamer basket. And these stems I'll sort of quarter them lengthways. And they should take about the same amount of time to steam as the florets then. Those are not going to go on just yet, because this will only need about 7 minutes. Potatoes are just bubbling away over here. I'm just going to take a view on how well they're doing. They're pretty good. I'll move them around so that the ones at the edge get a turn in the middle, because we want everything to cook fairly evenly. But this is doing okay. I'm just going to carry on reducing that now. The potatoes are almost done. Now it's time for the fish to go in. Fish has been in for almost 10 minutes now, and these potatoes, you can see, are, well, most of the stock has reduced down. That's good. I'm just going to leave that going for the moment, but we'll probably will turn it down because I don't want to reduce that away to nothing. I just want to have a little bit of a sauce around these potatoes. It's time for the broccoli to go on the steamer. So I think this fish is done. This has been about 15 minutes in a 200 degrees Celsius oven, but I'm just going to probe, and the minute this hits 64 Celsius, it's cooked. It's 64, 65 degrees Celsius, it's done. I'm just going to let it rest there for a moment. Okay, time to plate up. So I'm just going to dish out a portion of this fish. Potatoes cooked in stock. And of course some of their sauce. Lovely broccoli, which is sadly no longer purple. Right, I've served Jenny. So what we're going to do is just have a little taste of this fish. So let's have a look at it first. So you can see fish is still slightly translucent, just cooked to the right point. Here we go. Nut and cracker crusted fish. So the fish is just perfectly on the point of being cooked. I'm happy with my choice of using walnuts. They are full of flavour and they're crisp without being hard like bullets. And the turmeric doesn't just add colour, it does also contribute this sort of background warmth. Oh, and the parsley really helps as well. The parsley is a really nice little note underneath the crust there. For the sake of completeness, let's give one of these potatoes a taste. Also good. I don't think you'd want to use anything darker than a light chicken stock for those potatoes. And of course, if you had fish stock would probably be even more appropriate. But yeah, that's just an easy alternative to frying breaded fish. Well, there we go. So that is my nut and cracker crusted fish with easy fondant style-ish potatoes. I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.